Bollywood Nadkarni. On this digital platform, we speak to entrepreneurs from various fields who tell us why they didn't want the typical 9 to 5, or why they wanted to do something very different, whether it was helping people or following their passion, doing something very close to their heart. So my guest today is Amita Deshpande. She is the founder of Recharkha, the eco-social tribe, which upcycle waste plastic. Now we are all aware that how much plastic, is bad. It's a bane to the environment, but how much it has become a part of our daily lives. So at Recharkha, which is a social enterprise, they work on upcycling non-recyclable plastic using a traditional weaving technique that uses a charkha and hand loom. Recharkha also employs tribal and rural women and youth, and in this process they enable them to have livelihoods for themselves and an attempt to develop an eco-social planet. How very cool and amazing is that? So we are going to talk with Amita. And hi Amita, and welcome to KY Talks. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Trupta. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with all of your followers and audience.
Yes.
And it was a good, the whole idea that we met after so many years.
Absolutely.
I really am very happy about that.
Yes, absolutely. Same here. Amita and I go way back, like we're college buddies, and we reconnected after almost 20 years. And this is such amazing work that she's doing at Recharkha. So we would definitely like to find out more. So Amita, please tell us, a little bit of background about Recharkha and how you started it. And yeah.
Sure. So, like Trupta said, I was, in her college. So we went to the Ferguson College together. After which I went and did my typical engineering degree, which most of my friends at that time did. I didn't know what I wanted to do, frankly, at that point in time, though I had always this thing in my mind that I want to work for the environment, and a cause that was very close to my heart was environment conservation. And I come from Dadra and Nagar Haveli, which is the capital of which is Silvassa. And so I always had a little bond for the tribal folks from my hometown, and I didn't grow up with them, but I always saw them around me throughout my stay over there. So I always had this feeling that I want to do something for this sector, for the environment, but I didn't know. I always thought it is just a passion and a hobby, and I continued to do it. But after I completed my engineering and started working in the IT sector, I realized that this is not what I want to do. I want to jump into the social sector and the eco-social sector for that matter, and work in that. So I went and did my master's from the US. Very ironic that, I'm going to the US to study sustainability. but thankfully we had some, I know. I wanted to come back, so I went, did my master's, I came back. I worked there for a few years in this sector, working with Fortune 500 companies to implement their sustainability reports. So somewhere in my mind, I knew that once this particular cause becomes a business, or somebody takes it up as with an economic perspective, then it will actually start rolling faster. So I always give this example that if Starbucks decides to do away with their straws, imagine the impact that they will create. So whenever a large corporation or a company starts taking little steps, it really creates a large ripple effect. And in turn, it also creates a special industry, which is what is the need of the hour today. And somewhere in my mind, I wanted to do that. I definitely didn't want to work for any large company, but I wanted to create something small, something which I could manage. So I decided to come back to India and founded this company called Arohana Eco-Social Developments. This was in 2015. So the company was started in 2013, but in 2015, we decided to launch it as a company itself, and we started working on these specific products where we are trying to upcycle low value plastic waste, which is not easily recyclable, and it is also disposable. So most of the times when I think that if something is made to last forever, why are we using it as a disposable, right?
Absolutely.
If a plastic bag, for example, if this sort of a packet that I have in my hand, if this is made to last forever, why can't we keep using it again and again and again as much as possible? So that's where I came up with certain ideas which were not necessarily recycling, but were having an angle of upcycling to it, and we started merging craft with it, so that the aspect of livelihoods also comes into the picture.
Right, right.
Because India traditionally has been a very society, and after agriculture, the second largest employer or economy generator was craft, right? And handlooms were something that India was famous for all around the world before the Industrial Revolution came in. And now craft is becoming sidelined and service industry is taking over. But how much ever possible if we can bring that craft back and try to do something with waste. So that was the idea we got, and I started working on it. Of course, took inspiration from many more organizations who were in this sector before me. And we came up with this idea where all these wrappers that you see in my hand, so either plastic bags or wrappers like this, which have a silver, sort of a lining inside it, or, these, again, wrappers, or the glittery gift wrappers, which we all were our gifts in. So found out that recycled because it doesn't have a good economic value for the waste pickup. Bottles and containers and all the other plastic things get recycled, but these don't because it's low value.
Right.
So as a result, we decided to focus on that and merge it with craft, and found out this way of weaving it and making all these products. What do you see right behind me?
And really good, like, there's so much plastic in our day-to-day lives, like even the gift wrappers, it's all plastic. So finding a creative way to do that is amazing. So, in addition to what you just said, would you like to add anything more? Like, what was the motivation? Like, you always wanted to do it, but was there
Yes.
any other factor, like you were really motivated to start Recharkha?
Yes. So see, I always wanted to start an enterprise of my own, definitely. But I didn't know that was the point when so somewhere within you always feel, like I'm going to come back from the US, I'm going to leave a job, which is, paying me very well. I'm living such a, luxurious life, comfortable life. And now I'm going to start something where I don't even know if my monthly paycheck is going to come or not. And that's what is an entrepreneur's life, right? That I'm sure that's what you are trying to talk about. But wherever possible, if we can somehow bring this this passion into the picture, that this is what I want to do and this is what I'm passionate about, and then it starts rolling. And that's when I decided to take this plunge, that this is what I'm passionate about. I'm not doing it for economic or financial purposes, though it will, of course, have to be financially sustainable also. But this is what I'm trying to do right now. And I started working. I took the plunge. So I think passion played a very, very important role. And the second role that was important was the persistence, that I continued to do it because there were lots of ups and downs. And this was such a new thing that we had started. We didn't know anybody else who did it at such a scale. People were doing it as a craft, some NGO was doing it as a little side activity, but nobody had decided to base their whole business on making this product. And when we are working in this sector, especially when you're working in the social sector, it's very important that it is all driven by the people who are working. So it is somewhere like the service sector, somewhere like the IT sector where everything is people driven. But in our case, I had to deal with all these tribals whom I had never dealt with before. So that was again another aspect. But all this, started just coming into the picture, started rolling, and it was exciting.
Amazing. Things just fell into place, and you learned on the go. Being an entrepreneur, you just started.
Yeah, totally. It's an adventure.
Absolutely. So, So, what is it about this field that gives you a sense of satisfaction or accomplishment or kick, if you want to say, what is it about this venture?
The whole thing that satisfies me the most is that I'm doing something good. It's not that I am, selling a product to somebody which doesn't make any. So whatever I'm selling should mean something to me and to the person who's buying.
Right.
That's why I always feel that it's important. Whosoever starts a business starts it with something which is where they are doing something meaningful, right? And that's what drives me personally. And it gives me that satisfaction that at the end of the day, how much ever we are, creating, how much waste we are upcycling, how much waste we are, removing from the planet, how many people we are providing livelihood to. So when I think about it, every day about 1,000 plastic bags are getting upcycled, for example. So, it actually makes a lot of, it's satisfying.
Right, absolutely.
For us as well as for our customers.
Absolutely. Because I can see some customers already there checking out the products. So they just maybe, manage to save and so many number of plastic bags. So I think
Correct.
So, whenever you start a new venture, there are bound to be obstacles or challenges, or, you may choose to call it anything. So, in your case, what were some of the barriers you broke, or what were some of the challenges you faced, when you started Recharkha?
Sure. See, ours was a very unique concept. People had not even known that waste could be converted into something like this.
Right.
And the whole process we use to make this is also very different. It's very manual. So a lot of manpower is used, and of course we have to pay the manpower.
Right.
So it is a craft and there is a price that is attached to it, right? It's like any of us, when I used to work for the IT sector, for example, it was very easy for us to charge a particular, what is it called, a day rate or an hourly rate to the customer, right? Now, when I am applying that to the tribal woman who's working for me, and if I'm calculating the product cost, of course, the cost itself is, if a bag takes 1.5 days to make, I have to pay them that much. A good amount of money, and of course save some for doing all the other administration costs. So when the product came up for the first time, we understood that it is becoming expensive. But when I'm comparing it with a product which people would anyways go and buy at a shopping mall, it is comparable. I want to keep it comparable. So if a bag, like as gorgeous as the one that I have in my hand, if that is going to be sold, I am going to sell it for say 1,300 rupees. So a comparable bag like this would be, in that range. But in this case, we will not be having that much of margin. Whereas say a Zara or a Louis Vuitton is going to have a lot of margin in it. This is what was important for us, and it was sort of a barrier and a challenge where we had to come up with ways and means, one, to convince the customer that effort. So though we don't have a nice brand written on our product, the effort is important. And so convincing that in the first place, and secondly, trying to work with the minimum margin that we can get, because that was again important. We couldn't price them very high. We had to, keep a balance between these two things. So that was the biggest challenge. I think, that was the biggest challenge. There were, of course, a lot of other challenges.
Right. People would have questions, but addressing those and actually letting them know, hey, a lot of work goes into it. It's not just it looks. What is that bag made from? Like, what are those wrappers?
So this one, particularly the one that I have in my hand, is made from your black plastic bags. So like the black garbage bags or the plastic bags which you get at, say, an alcohol store or a medical store. And the shine that you see, glittery gift wrappers.
Sorry, chocolate wrappers.
Glittery, gift wrappers. In this case, it's gift wrappers. So about 50 of them, 50 of them are woven together to make a bag like this.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Similarly, the one behind me also. So these beautiful looking totes.
Wow.
So again, this is made of white plastic, and the glittery gift wrappers.
Wow. One would not be able to tell, but it's really amazing the kind of hard work that goes behind it.
Yeah, see.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it is just very different. Also, there are some products which are made from biscuit wrappers and from wafer packets and all those kind of things.
Wow.
So it's fun. It's fun to do all this. That's all I can say.
And to see how much plastic has basically taken over us that we need to
Yeah.
start moving away from it, and this is a lovely
Correct. So there's the whole idea is also not that we want to upcycle a lot of plastic waste. That's not our idea. Our idea is also to impart this sort of education to the educated that we should stop creating more waste.
Yeah.
Because the way with which we are creating waste, the statistics say that every minute 1 million plastic bags are being used worldwide. And all of those are going to be used only for a few minutes and thrown away. So just imagine where is it all going? And with the growing amount of population that we all have and the rising consumerism, it is just a disaster. So we are trying to impart that knowledge and spread awareness that upcycle. First of all, refusing plastic waste is most important. Packaged products, packaged food, packaging in the first place is important. And then refuse, reduce, reuse, and then recycling is the last option. So we don't want to say that this is the solution to the problem. It's just an attempt to, have the message reach out to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Really awesome, Amita. So, at this stage in your venture, what do you think is needed from you to reach the next step, like to reach your business aspirations or business goals, so to speak? What is needed from your side at this stage?
I definitely, the more we grow economically, the more we'll be able to, make the message heard to more and more people. So at this stage, we are definitely looking for financial support in terms of, say, investments or grants where we'll be able to. So all these years, the first 5 years, I would say, we've been working with mostly volunteers. So even we have 26 people in our company. Out of are artisans and the tribals. So for them, we are working for them. So rest of the 6 of us, we are all people like you and me who used to do something else and now have found their passion and they're working now here. So they are obviously not getting a salary which they would ideally get in the job market. So my next step is definitely to ensure that they get paid well as much as they would have gotten outside, because they've put in so much of their effort, they've put in so much of their time. And secondly, be able to hire more skilled people for the administration, of course. So because that's the way we are going to be able to build our team. So that's where right now I'm looking for that's one place where I would say we are trying to grow. Secondly, the tribal village where we are located right now, we want to create one more of that kind somewhere closer to Pune, because this one is a little far off, and possibly invite people to come over, stay with us, learn what we do, understand what we do, not necessarily learn what we do, but understand what we do and support us in various ways. So this is what are my 2 goals for this year.
All the best, and I really hope you get to set up a unit close to Pune. And viewers, please take note. And also, Amita's workshop is located on Karve Road, right? So
Karve Nagar, yeah. Karve Nagar.
Yes. So please go drop in and check out the amazing work they do. So
please do.
Yes. So Amita, when you started this venture, from then till now, like how has it changed you? In what way has this venture changed you or brought about changes in you?
Personally, right?
Personally, professionally, it could be anything. So.
Yeah, it's definitely when I started, because when I started, it was like just jumping in into a dark tunnel, not knowing what I'm doing. It was just the passion and adventure that drove me, and I just took that plunge. But since then, I personally have changed a lot, I would say. Coming from a background that I had at that time, and the whole understanding of this sector, I had to change my own lifestyle a lot, because I couldn't obviously afford, not necessarily financially, but also, ethically, you don't feel like spending so much more, or you don't feel like being a consumer that you used to be. Like how much I used to go shopping before, I wouldn't do that anymore, because I know the impact every product is going to create on the environment. Secondly, I started shopping more consciously. So I got more people from similar sectors, people who are doing natural products, natural detergents or soaps or cosmetics or whatever, as in people working in different sectors in this natural and organic space. I started, engaging more with them and started changing my own buying habits. I think that was from my personal front, and professionally a lot has happened. So of course you have to develop as a leader, which you've not been used to. I was never used to giving orders to anybody. A very different world right now. Of course, still I don't give orders as such, but it's more like you have to get work done from different people, and try to hone yourself as a leader, and because that's how you are initially as an entrepreneur, where you're doing everything yourself. Now I have to delegate it to my team.
Correct.
People and get it all done together.
Awesome, great. So, lastly, what would you like to say to all the budding and upcoming entrepreneurs out there? Because, they have an idea, but they don't know how to execute it, or, to go about it, or they feel like push. So, what would you like to say to them? Share some advice.
Totally. So firstly, I would definitely say do something which means something to you. Don't just do it just because there is a market for it. Because market you can always create, believe me, you can create your own market. But what matters is the passion and commitment that you bring to the table. Secondly, you should also be very persistent with what you're doing. If you are going to start something and then leave it just in a few months or few years, thinking it's not working out, don't do that. Stick to it. Changes to the way you're doing things. But don't quit, definitely. And then third and most importantly, try to build a good network around you of people who are going to support you. So don't, we sometimes tend to be headstrong and do something the way we want it to. And in the process, we might end up breaking relationships. So instead of that, how can we work together with people? Have the right kind of people around you. Everybody is willing to support you. If they love you, they will support you. So I think that's extremely important. Team is very important. You have to have a good team if you want to succeed.
Well said. Your team and your fellow members, take them all forward together. That's how fast we come doing feature faster. That's really amazing. Great work indeed. So thank you so much, Amita, for coming to the DY platform and sharing your thoughts and views. Thank you so much. And viewers, please do drop in at her workshop. And I myself have bought a couple of products, and I must say we are really good and doing some great work to help the environment. She is a member of us. So thank you so much, Amita, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Trupta. You're doing a good job by, encouraging people, inspiring people to join and becoming entrepreneurs. So I think that's the need of the hour. People should come out and start doing different things, but make sure that's again one last parting thought that I have is that be responsible in whatever you start. So one of my very good friends wanted to launch a food products business, but she wanted to be make it into a zero packaging or zero. So I tried to, so as in whatever business you want to start, do it responsibly. So I'm just giving an example of one of my friend who wanted to start a business of food products, but her she wanted to keep her packaging waste plastic free.
Oh, okay.
So that is how, because every time you are going to start a business and if you're going to introduce a new product with new packaging and new plastic, then it's actually totally counterproductive. So think from the entire, whatever business you do, think from the environmental and social and also economic perspective. Don't just think about the economy. Think about environment, please. Extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhita.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.